This video is all about early readers. The name of this format is not always consistent. Sometimes you'll see them called beginner books, or easy readers, or emerging reader books. I like early reader, and so that's what I use in this video. There are a few different clues you can use to tell that you're looking at an early reader book, all based on how these books are designed specifically for beginner readers to practice their literacy skills. Sometimes it's especially easy to identify early readers right away because they'll print a reading level on the cover or include something on the cover that says, "I can read this all on my own," or "Ready, Steady, Read," or something like that to indicate, oh, this is a practice reading book. The words in early readers are intentionally accessible, if not necessarily short and simple. The reader is supposed to be able to use their sounding out strategies, their decoding strategies, to be able to figure out what the words say. So long words or weird words with strange spelling rules are not usually present in this format because those are extra tricky and sort of advanced. Traditional early readers even use words from sight word lists almost exclusively. The words in an early reader are printed in easy-to-read fonts, and they're usually large and kind of spaced out with extra space at the very bottom of the page so as to leave room for little fingers to hold onto the book and have no distractions from what they're trying to read. Even the size of early readers is designed intentionally. They're printed in a manageable trim size for the age of the child using it. Not big and shareable like a picture book, but also not small and private like a novel. Paperback novels in particular are sometimes kind of hard for kids to hold open, and that becomes a distraction. Overall, everything about the size and shape of an early reader is designed so that the child should be able to easily hold it open, track where the text is, see the text, and read it without all those other things giving them an extra challenge. The pictures in early readers should not confuse or distract a reader from understanding the words, so they shouldn't contradict the words. In my video about picture books, I talk about how sometimes the pictures and the words in picture books tell different stories, and when that does happen, it encourages the child to practice some complex comprehension skills, where they have to combine the words they're hearing with the pictures they're seeing. That's not so helpful in an early reader book, because the child needs to focus on parsing those words without getting distracted or led astray by contradictory images and complex comprehension processes. That's not to say that sometimes the pictures don't add a little extra meaning or flavor to early readers, but they're much less likely to be outright contradictory. The pictures in early reader books often offer either a very simple one-to-one match with the words, or a bit more context than what the words describe, like showing a setting when the words focus on what the characters are doing. So you can see where they're doing their action, but it's not something extra to really process while you're trying to understand the words. Reading teachers in particular need to pay attention to the pictures in early readers, since sometimes children can resort to guessing a word's meaning from the picture rather than truly practicing their word decoding skills. So it's always worth looking at the words versus the pictures to see just how precisely they match up, and whether or not that's going to be an extra clue. Another way that the early reader format supports children as they practice their reading skills is through series books. You'll find that many early readers come in long series with only a handful of characters and repeating plots, so that the child's cognitive energy can be spent on decoding those words and not on trying to get to know new characters or follow complicated plot lines. For the same reason, you'll see that certain picture book series, like the Pete and Cat books, also have early reader versions, so that children can go from having Pete the Cat and his friends read about to them to reading about them themselves, and they'll already know the characters and the names and the usual plots and settings. Now, overall, as you can see, early readers are really meant to reduce distractions and give a lot of supports to beginning readers while still offering the experience of reading a book. Because reading a whole book gives a sense of victory and accomplishment to young readers when they can say they've read a book by themselves, and that sort of success provides motivation and gratification to help them along the road to full literacy. So early readers, in the end, are a very practical format without a lot of room to get super creative. Meanwhile, picture books are pretty and complex books, and that shared reading experience that they encourage leads to a lot of fond memories and nostalgia about childhood reading with parents or beloved teachers. In comparison, early readers often don't get nearly as much love from adults. There's not quite as many awards for them, for instance. These books are often very learning-oriented, but that does not mean they need to be boring. There was a time when early readers were all very boring, though. If you've ever heard of the Dick and Jane books, you know what I mean. These were the main early readers for a long time, and all children had to read them in school because there just weren't a lot of options. So let's look at an example. Away went the pony. Away went Jane and Sally. Away went Tim. Oh, oh, laughed Sally. This is fun. This is a good ride. A good ride for Jane. A good ride for Tim. And a good ride for me. Very exciting. This was all functional. Those words are accessible, the pictures don't go far astray from the words, the spacing is good, the size is manageable, the words are big and not at the bottom of the page. It serves the purpose, but it's not that interesting. A book that serves its purpose is not necessarily a good book, and there's no reason to cheat young readers out of good books while they learn to read. Luckily, one author gave early readers the update they desperately needed. You know him as Dr. Seuss. He was already a famous author of picture books when a friend of his asked him to write an early reader that was less excruciatingly boring than those Dick and Jane books, but still had no more than 225 different words from the sight word list for first graders. I know that sounds like a lot of words, but it's really not when you're trying to write a whole book. Dr. Seuss actually got so frustrated that he almost gave up, but as a last resort he decided that the first 2 words he found on the sight list that rhymed would be the title of the book and he would go from there. Those 2 words were cat and hat, and so we ended up with The Cat in the Hat. It was hugely successful and so fun that children were actually asking their parents to buy it for them. It was so successful that Seuss and the publisher made a whole series of early readers. And later on a bet, he made a book that only had 50 different words, and that one's Green Eggs and Ham. So early readers are a very functional format, but they can be good books at the same time, and they can be fun. Dr. Seuss proved this, and now there's many early readers since then that are exciting and fun reads that serve the purpose, but are good books too.